I'm pretty sure if anybody ever rewatches this video, it will just be because of that intro. But it was worth it. Hello everyone, Clack of the Geek here, welcome back to a brand new video, and today I'm going to do a discussion video. So in the Doctor Who sort of fan community, in the Doctor YouTube sphere, I've been seeing a lot of discussion on underrated Doctors, because obviously there's always people saying like, what's the most underrated story, the most underrated era, and underrated Doctors, and I've seen a few videos on different Doctors and as to why they're underrated, and I wanted to sort of throw my hat into the ring, give a few suggestions as to who could be the most underrated Doctor. So let's do it. First pick is Colin Baker, the 6th Doctor. Now, this is an easy pick, you know, like he's often a target for ridicule, whether it's the costume, or the inconsistent writing, or the hiatuses, or him strangling Perry, which is because of regeneration trauma and never happened again. Even though I don't like that scene. And because of that, he often comes very low. In fact, often he comes at the bottom of sort of fan polls. He's often ridiculed and he's often the butt of jokes. And I don't think a lot of the criticisms are fair. Like with the aforementioned him strangling Perry, as I say, it was after his regeneration. But people seem to always take that scene out of context and use that as a reason why the 6th Doctor is bad, which I don't get. And a lot of people are always saying, oh, he's really mean, he's really arrogant. But arrogance has always been a part of the Doctor's character from William Hartnell ever since then. You know, Pertwee had it, Tom Baker had it, Davison had it, Eccleston had it, Tennant had it, Capaldi had it, even Jodie has it to an extent. And in Colin Baker's case, it is very much because he is the smartest person in the room, so he is going to brag about his intelligence, and it is very in line with the Doctor's character. And with the argument of him like being really mean, like, I don't know, I mean, there are instances where it can be a bit overbearing, like in Time Lash when he's shouting at Perry for no reason. But other than that, you know, he's very much a sympathetic Doctor. He does mellow over time. You know, in Trial of Time Lord, he's a lot mellower. But even in his first season, like, take Attack of the Cybermen, you know, at the very end of the story, his arrogance got somebody partly converted into a Cyberman and then killed. And it really dawns on him, and it sort of, there's a lot of weight there, and it really affects him. So he does care about people. Now, I know Big Finish have explored more sides to his character, like with his more mellow side, and if I had to recommend a Big Finish from him, I'd recommend The Juggernaut. It's a great story. But a genuinely TV Colin, I don't really have a problem with that much. And also, Colin Baker is one of the best actors who's played the Doctor. Like, he's got a proper presence, and he has a very theatrical quality to him. He owns the screen every time that he's on, and that's what every Doctor actor needs. Next suggestion I've got is Sylvester McCoy's 7th Doctor. Now, if you remember back when I did the Ranking the Doctors video back in, it must have been 2019 now, with Ronnie. Ronnie made a pretty good comment, like, that Sylvester McCoy is a very unfortunate Doctor. And I would agree with that. Like, he was coming into the show at a time when Doctor was at an all-time low. Ratings were down, the previous actor had been fired, and Doctor was pretty much on borrowed time at this point. So, yeah, and, you know, they had to make the best of a bad situation. And, you know, McCoy often gets lumped in as, like, you know, with the cancellation of the classic series, he often comes quite low on fan polls. But I have seen some people say he's their favourite Doctor, which I do see. A lot of people think he's quite cringy and annoying, especially in this first series, which, alright, at times, yes, he can be quite cringy and a bit too goofy with his, you know, rolling the R's or roly-poling his way out of danger. But it doesn't get on my nerves too much, because I think McCoy has the screen presence and the charisma to carry some of that daft stuff, especially in his first season. But then obviously in his later seasons, season 25 and 26, he became darker. They were sort of bringing back The Who in Doctor Who, which McCoy's been quoted quite a lot, that's what the intention was. And you can see that, you know, especially in season 26, you know, stories like Ghost, like The Curse of Fenric, he's quite dark. He's arguably he's the darkest Doctor of all of them. You know, you don't really know where you stand with him. Like, he's doing some pretty dodgy stuff. Like, he's tricking Ace and emotionally manipulating her, but it is all for the greater good in the end. But when it happens, you're like, who is this guy really? And I think McCoy is just a brilliant actor. Like, he genuinely embodies the part. Even at, like, conventions, even not in the show, but even at conventions and stuff, you'll see him playing the spoons or doing, like, little hat tricks. And he just embodies the part in a similar way to how Tom Baker or Matt Smith did, or William Hartnell. He really throws himself into the part, and it's always a pure delight to watch every time. But yeah, I'd definitely say McCoy is the best of the 80s Doctors, and he's a brilliant Doctor. Now with this choice, you're probably thinking, nah, you're pulling our leg here, this is the wind-up, what's going on? No, seriously, Matt Smith, the 11th Doctor. Now if you would have asked me this question like a few years ago, would I have said that Matt Smith was underrated? Hell no. I mean, when he was the Doctor, I mean, he got Doctor Who massive in America, and he rivaled the popularity of David Tennant. I mean, Series 5, incredible, you know, he had the 50th anniversary, and Matt Smith is just amazing. He proved everyone wrong with the 11th hour, and he's a phenomenal Doctor. I mean, he is my favourite Doctor. So why now, in 2021, would I suggest that he's potentially an underrated Doctor? Let's just give some context of all the new series Doctors. So, Christopher Eccleston and David Tennant. Obviously, Christopher Eccleston is the first Doctor in the modern series, and obviously everyone loves him. He's come back for Big Finish as well. People always talk about him. Tennant, he's literally everywhere. I mean, Tennant often comes at the top of every fan list. You know, he's the most popular Doctor. And, David Tennant's always coming back for Big Finish, Time of Victorious, the books, the comics, the video games, and whatnot. Then you have Peter Capaldi and Jodie Whittaker, who, while they have their fans, they also have their detractors. So there's always that discussion there. You know, people who love them feel they need to defend them, and that always keeps the conversation alive. But with Matt Smith, I never hear anything about him these days. Like, people don't tend to talk about him, and he just sort of gets forgotten. I mean, I wouldn't say that people hate him, but he doesn't seem to come that high on fan lists these days as he would have done a few years ago. And I mean, he's my favourite Doctor, so obviously I love him. I just think he embodies absolutely everything. Like, even in awful stories as well, he can be one of the only saving graces of it. Stories like Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, or The Doctor Winning the Wardrobe, or, Closing Time. Like, he can genuinely save a lot of stories. He's got the youthful energy, dashing about, running around, but he's also very much an old man in a young man's body. You do see a lot of his darker side, and a lot of sorrow and pain and regret, and Matt Smith just does it excellently. And my final pick is Peter Capaldi, the 12th Doctor. Now, definitely as of late, he has had a bit of a renaissance, but even still, he has his detractors, and as I said, he's a very divisive Doctor, and his era is very divisive, so there's always that conversation. And definitely when he was the Doctor, I remember back in 2016, 2017, it was almost cool to hate on Moffat and to hate on Capaldi in his era. When he was first cast, people were like, oh, he's too old. Then Series 8, oh, he's too grumpy. Then Series 9, oh, he's too cringy. I definitely saw a lot of hate and criticism for his Doctor. Now, I know I've mentioned previously that the actors, Colin Baker, McCoy and Matt Smith, they've all been brilliant actors. But Capaldi, I will never not say, but he is the best actor to have played the Doctor. Not once does he give a bad performance. Literally, there's some stories like Forest of the Night where he's literally the best thing about it, well, the only good thing about it. He genuinely can he can literally carry some awful stories. So let's take a look at this character. Now, Series 8, I love the Dark Doctor. It was refreshing to see a Doctor, with a no-nonsense attitude. Morally questionable, you don't know where you stood with him, but in the end, you knew it was very good. And then at the end of the series, he's like, I am a good man. And, that leads into Series 9 and Last Christmas, where he's sort of letting loose a bit. And whilst on occasion, that whole Rock a Time Lord can be a bit cringe, riding the guitar, playing the guitar on the tank, or when he's talking to babies really dramatically, that can be a bit dumb. But for the most part, I don't mind it. I have come to warm to it over the time. But obviously with the death of Clara and obviously the loss of River, he became a bit sadder, a bit more, a bit sadder. But then Bill comes along and he's like, you know what, I am the hero, I'm going to save people. And, I love that little character arc. If you connect the dots, it works really well. Video. I hope you enjoyed it. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Who is your most underrated Doctor? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And this Clack of the Geek signing out. Goodbye, everyone.